Hi, I'm Julia Sutherland and thank you for joining us this morning for today's Hi Tune Into Tourism live interactive tutorial. Today we aim to get you into gear for bike tourism. That's right, we can't resist the puns. And these visitors are worth hundreds of millions of pounds to the Scottish economy, whether that is road biking or mountain biking. You really can't afford to ignore these important guests who could really help you to grow your business. So we've got three guests today, two expert guests to start off with. Mike Dennison from Sustrans Scotland. Mike, tell us what it is you do at Sustrans.
Okay, so I'm the Marketing and Tourism Development Officer for Sustrans Scotland, and my role is basically to work with partners and businesses to raise awareness and usage of the National Cycle Network in Scotland, and to help realise the economic dividend from leisure cycling and cycle tourism on the network.
So you're on the roads, Graeme McLean from DMBinS. I'm trying to get it right. Developing mountain biking in Scotland. You're more the off-road staff. Tell us what you do there.
Developing mountain biking in Scotland is a project which oversees the national strategy for mountain biking, which in itself sounds quite dry and dull, but in actual fact means that we can help energise, support, give advice to the whole sector to grow mountain biking, whether that's trails, events, or catering, or developing the supply chain for mountain bikers, such as accommodation providers, and giving advice to them as to how they can improve their businesses to accommodate mountain bikers well.
Well, that's what we really want to do today, to talk about how we can better accommodate those cyclists, whether they're on the roads or off the roads, and coming in their various different forms. And later on, we're also going to be hearing from another Graeme Adcock, who's the owner of Cleacombe Mill Lodge, which was the winner of the Mountain Bike Award for Bike Friendly Business in 2017. So he's got lots of great advice on how your business can become more bike friendly too. But we are here for you to help you get lots of information about how you can really improve what you're offering to these guests, and Richard is in the chat box there to find out what your questions are. Richard.
Thank you very much, Julia. Yes, I'm here. Please do get involved. This is the fourth one of the current series, and you guys have been instrumental in asking questions and sharing best practice and all that kind of thing. So do let me know where you are watching and what business that you run, and if you've got any specific questions about this very interesting area, I will pass them over to the panel. So look forward to hearing from you all this morning. Back to you, Julia.
Okay, so I guess let's start off. We've got lots of different kinds of visitors here within the different categories, so we need to find out a little bit more about them. Mike, we'll start with you with a sort of leisure and road cycling. Broadly speaking, there are two different kinds of visitors within that category, aren't there?
Yeah, roughly speaking, they fall into sort of two different categories. We've got people who are coming to Scotland specifically to ride their bikes. Mm-hmm. They're coming, they want to spend every day in the saddle, and they tend to be more specialist. They have a good understanding of what they're looking for, a reasonable level of fitness and competence. And so for that audience, it's very much about trying to signpost and inspire. So inspirational images, inspirational content, good quality sort of third-hand testament or second-hand testament from friends, from people who've experienced the routes and so on. And it's really about flagging up. It's almost like a jigsaw puzzle. We're presenting them with all the quality pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, and we're allowing them to assemble that puzzle to suit their own ends and create an experience that's unique to them. The other audience is a slightly different audience, and it's one where perhaps people have chosen to come to Scotland for a range of different activities, one of which could be leisure cycling or indeed mountain biking. And that's a very different audience with a very different set of needs. They're very much more looking for a product. So we need to present leisure cycling in a way which they can almost just buy into on the spot. So it's about perhaps picking a route, promoting that route in the right way with service provision, park here, hire your bikes from there. The route takes 2 hours. You know, this is where the toilets are. These are the things you can see and do on the way around the route.
Here's where you can have lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's very much about presenting them with a product. You know, they're perhaps time crunched. They're looking to try and get as many different activities into their visit. They might be destination based. So today they might be cycling. Tomorrow they might be visiting Go Ape. The next day it might be a visitor attraction. So there's the two different sort of sets of needs there.
That second set sounds more like me. We went away on holiday and took the bikes with us with no real plan. And but you want it all to be sold to you, so you don't have to think about it if you're not really an expert. Yeah. So we've got two different categories there, and you talked about inspiring the ones that perhaps are a bit more serious and know what they're doing. What does that mean? Does that mean using perhaps social media to?
Yeah, social media is a really good channel. Inspirational images. I mean, a picture speaks 1,000 words. And often it's an image of someone riding a bike in a spectacular location, which is the starting point of an investigative journey, where they'll then look to see where that image was taken, what route they were on, what's nearby, and then they'll start to build up a picture in their own mind of how they could relive that experience. And what service provision they need.
So it does start before they've even got to you at getting involved on social media, having a look for those hashtags, finding the communities out there and providing them with some images of your location. Yeah, that's great. And what about mountain bikers then, Graeme? What's the kind of demographic of them? Do they split up into different categories too? Are they more a more homogenous group?
No, I would say Mike described it very, very well, actually. I think you have that enthusiasts who have got a good idea of the experience that they want to have and will come largely prepared for it. What you can do for them, though, as well, is make sure that their whole visitor journey is as smooth and as seamless as possible, and that they can really, really enjoy that experience that they've set out to do. And then you have the ones who are coming just to enjoy the activity. They're not really sure of maybe what they're going to do, or maybe they've put the bikes in the car in case they can get the bike ride. For them, there is definitely opportunities to signpost them to other things that might be in the area. So it might be bike hire if they've not brought their bikes with them. It might be kind of knowing the routes that are in the local area that they can then do and what they might expect along those routes. So a little bit of research can go a long way, providing that guest with a tremendous experience. And the one thing, and also why that's important as well for both of those groups, if you can deliver a great experience, mountain bikers, be enthusiasts or people who are just coming for that experience, will tell their friends. They are quite a vocal group. They will tell people, they'll tell their peer groups, they'll tell people who they also ride with, be it in a club or just socially. So they will help spread the message about how good your business was, how good the service was, so you can sell on word of mouth, and that word of mouth can be face to face, and it can also be on social.
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like just as we're getting started here, just having the information is an important first step. Really finding out about what's in your local area, what the resources are there for people that have got bikes, and being informed. So that's probably the first step. So what about events? Is there are we growing in terms of the numbers that are coming for those sort of things? What have we got in Scotland?
Absolutely, events have been growing all the time. We know that participation events, so ones where people are coming to take part in the event, have grown 15% from 2014 to 2017. They come for a lot of people who are coming. Many of those events as well will have an overnight experience built into it. I know that we work a lot with event organisers who are trying more and more to work with destinations to make sure that the people who are part of destination groups can offer services and offer hotel nights and get engaged in events and can get engaged in those events and can offer deals and special services to the mountain bikers. You also have the Foot William World Cup, which is a fantastic spectator event that has 23,000 visitors heading up to the Foot William and Lochaber area. And if you're in that area, it's a great opportunity to be able to sell your business for future experiences. So giving them, sort of letting people know what secure bike storage you have, what bike washing you have, so that they can tell their friends about what else they can do. Also though, what is with such a vast number of a specialist group largely who are coming up to the area, there's great opportunities to sell around that event. How if you're not in that area, but you're on the location, on the way to get there, even if it's slightly off the path, be ready and willing to sell to people as they're starting to plan that experience from December onwards, really.
So, I mean, in terms of numbers, Mike, what are we talking in the figures and the statistics?
If let's take a fairly high profile mass participation sportive, like say Etap Loch Ness, for example, I think this year they had maybe 5,500, pushing 6,000 participants. I think approximately 70% of them came from out with the Highland region. And so an event like that where you've got a draw that's bringing people in from far and wide, I mean, the opportunity to showcase not only the sort of the immediate infrastructure and routes that they're riding on, but also what's in the sort of local environment huge. It's a huge opportunity.
So for tourism businesses, even if they're not an accommodation provider, they're not directly, connected to the bike side of things, there's still an opportunity there for them to tap into that market, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of these people who are participating in these events are bringing their families, partners, and so on. And so there's an opportunity to sort of set up a whole load of parallel experiences that are not cycling related. And really give them a great experience across the whole family group. And
I said at the beginning, it is hundreds of millions of pounds that we're talking to the Scottish economy every year.
That's right. Yeah. So it shouldn't come as any surprise, but we've got over 2,300 miles of national cycle network in Scotland. About 650 miles of that are segregated. So it's no surprise that that's worth a lot of money. I think in 2017 it was estimated to be worth over 330 million pounds to the Scottish tourism economy. They're big numbers.
And with mountain biking, I think that the statistic that I saw was that actually mountain bikers maybe stay a bit longer, spend a bit more. So, that's something to bear in mind as well, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, mountain bikers are really good, particularly if they can get based within a destination. You can get multi-day stays, and they really enjoy good food at night, good warm meals, beer, whiskey. You can have a whole range of services, and they will be willing to spend money on it. And there's quite a stereotypical view of mountain bikers being kind of young and kind of young people, the ones you might see flying down the hills at Fort William. However, there's a really broad spectrum of mountain bikers. In fact, most people who are visiting will be in the kind of age group between 35 up to 50. So that's a demographic that has quite a lot of disposable income, is looking for some of the nicer things within life, including their bike, which is one of the most precious things that they have. But they will be looking to also spend when they're at the destination, have a great holiday experience.
I think that's a good point you make, that the bike is a precious, a valuable possession, and so we have to think about how we're going to be treating that just as much as treating the person when they're here. Richard, do we have any questions coming in yet before we move on to the practical steps of how we do cater for those guests?
Well, we do have a couple of points coming in from people listening, but I don't know, I'm kind of like really enjoying the sound of bike tourism very much, because I just keep hearing when we were in Aviemore at the conference and what people are saying and everything, I just keep hearing beer, whiskey, warm food, hot showers, and that bit of bike tourism I think I could really get into. So far we've got Carol Thomas, who's she's on the Argyle Cycle Route 78. She's watching. Amy Peters is in an overcast Inverness. Hi, Amy. Nice to have you with us. Linda's in Oban, and she says bring your bike up on the train to her. And then Richard, who's been with us every week, is in Stornoway. And he was just saying that mountain biking and road cycling is just emerging in a structured way. The cycle touring on the Hebridean Way is becoming established with many visitors now. So that's something, certainly from experience of establishing a sort of Hebridean Way and cycle touring in that sense is certainly something worth investigating, from our experiences previously of talking about, just things like the, Route 500, all that stuff, so it could be good opportunities there. And finally, Linda Batterson is just back from the cruise conference in Dundee yesterday, where you also were, Julia, and she said it's worth noting that many cruise ships carry bikes for passengers on board their cruise ships. So there you go, good bits of information. So anyone else, do join in, share your comments, and if you've got any questions, I'll put them to the panel. Julia, back over to you.
Yeah, so really it's growing, isn't it? And there's so much we can do to really cater for these visitors. They have very specific needs, and I think we can sort of break those down. I think broadly they are quite similar in terms of the kind of things that they're looking for. You're actually working on creating criteria for businesses to become more bike friendly. Tell me what you want to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, what we want to see do is have fantastic world-class experiences for people who come to mountain bike or cycle in Scotland. We do have tremendous trail infrastructure in Scotland for mountain biking, and we want to have the accommodation providers and other service providers provide a world-class experience, because it's that whole package that we really need to come together for mountain biking, for people to spread the word, and mountain biking to have that reputation which Scotland does have. but needs to maintain as other destinations improve across the world as well.
Yeah. So you've developed these criteria, and this is for accommodation providers, camping, visitor attractions, cafes and restaurants. I think we can broadly split those. I think we do have a slide that's got these on so we can work our way through them. So these are sort of bike-friendly essentials, and there's 9 of them. The first one, which we hear over and over again, is secure locked bike storage. Now, we just said that bike is a precious, precious thing to these people. What does that mean then? What, in practical terms, what are businesses going to have to do to provide that?
Well, basically, some of these bikes that the guys are riding now, either mountain bikes or road bikes, they're worth thousands of pounds, 3, 4, maybe even £5,000. And you know, the locking them up against the railings around the back is just not going to cut it. They need to be confident that their bikes are going to be somewhere safe and secure and protected from the elements. And so we're talking about you know, secure sheds, lockable bike sheds, even garages if we're talking about accommodation providers. And the other sort of component that is beginning to become quite important here is the sort of emerging e-bike market. So some of the more modern e-bikes are worth a lot of money. A lot of them have integrated batteries now, so you can't just pop the battery off and plug it in your bedroom. So, you know, maybe a garage, a lockable storage unit or a garage with a power supply where these bikes can be secure.
No, I didn't realise that was actually growing to that extent, that we need to be thinking about charging as well for them. Okay, that's interesting. So secure locked bike storage, so that we are looking for something to protect from the elements as well. It's going to have to be undercover. The next one is acceptance of dirty riders and a thought through visitor journey after a ride. Tell us what that means, Graeme.
Yeah, I think it's just putting yourself in the shoes of a mountain biker or cyclist who's arriving at your place. And
dirty shoes.
Dirty shoes. Dirty shoes. And it's, so it's kind of thinking that whole journey through from them, because actually when we arrive at an accommodation or a service, we don't actually want to mess it up. We don't want to be the bad ones, but we just need to know what to do and where to do it. So that might be a kind of case of if you've got nice carpets in your foyer and you don't want to get them dirty, it's, well, where do they go and how have you communicated that before they arrive at your property? And when they're at your property, is there ways that you can make it really easy for them to have to be getting from their wet, dirty clothes towards their room so that they can shower, get changed, and then have a range of dirty kit which they then maybe need cleaned as well. Each one of these probably has a little bit of opportunities around it for businesses as well. So you may be able to offer a washing and drying services, and most people will be willing to pay for that kind of service. And it's also just being able to think, right, so if someone's arriving at a property, how am I going to manage them, and how can they have a tremendous visitor, how can they have a great visitor journey, where's their journey through to their hot shower?
Yeah. It's sort of a little bit like having children. It's like, right, how do we get them out of that dirty kit and into the room without causing havoc? And I guess, Mike, that goes for perhaps cafes and restaurants as well. They're going to have maybe dirty bottoms, and they don't want to sit on, you know, soft furnishings. So maybe having. I
mean, whenever, you know, if you're cycling on a long distance cycle route and it starts hosing down with rain, then quite often it's half an hour before you're looking for a cafe. People just don't want to walk into a cafe and leave a puddle of mud and water on the floor, sit on a nice fabric seat, leave it wet for the next person. You know, it's you know, we don't want to do that. We'd sooner sit on a plastic seat somewhere and in somewhere where the mess can be cleared up. So it's just a question of thinking through. Put yourself in the shoes of the cyclist. Walk through that sort of experience right through to getting that cup of coffee. And making sure that you know you've got those things ticked off.
Yeah, so it will vary depending on what kind of business you have. But I guess, as you say, the main thing is just to put yourself in the shoes of the visitor, and what are they going to need, and how are they going to get through your business or you know, access your services in a way that's going to be, you know, cause least disruption and is going to be as pleasant as possible. Okay, so we've got secure locked storage, acceptance of dirty riders. The next one is bike wash with hose and drainage. Now these bikes, especially mountain biking, can get really, really caked in mud, can't they? So we're going to have somewhere to do that. Are places able to provide that without it costing too much money?
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a kind of power hose or anything like that. It's actually if you do have the ability to have an outside tap and just putting on a hose inside that with some good drainage into there, it's worth offering that just as a
Simple as
service.
that.
Just as simple as that. If you want to go to the next level, we would appreciate it. So actually think about how you could maybe provide some bike lubricants, some other things, some brushes, some potentially some cloths and some mats to wash things down, and that would really show that you really care about what they're doing. If you can go the extra mile, again, that will pay back. People will take photos of that, they'll be blown away by it, so they'll tell their friends, and they'll probably put it on social media as well. So again, you can get that, you hopefully get more stays from those sort of things as well.
It's funny, isn't it? Little things that doesn't require really an awful lot of investment just to get a few bits and pieces, but that can really pay back over and over again. And Mike, is it the same for road biking?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very much the same. It's often the sort of the small details which make a big difference. You know, turning up at a bed and breakfast at 6-7 o'clock at night, and you need some chain lube because you've got 60 or 70 miles ahead of you the next day. You know, if that's available, it can make a big difference.
Where could people watching from tourism businesses find out about what these essentials are if they're not really familiar with bikes themselves? Where could they go? What kind of resources are there maybe online where they could find out the sort of things that bikers are looking for?
On the Developing Mountain Bike in Scotland website, which if you Google mountain bike in Scotland, we generally turn up at the top of the search. If you go into that, it's got two sides to it. One is for riders, so you can find out a little bit where to ride. The other side is about developing. Into that, you can click on businesses, and in there's actually a guide for tourism businesses on there. It's a few years old now, but it has a lot of these essentials within it.
Some things don't change, though.
Yeah, some things don't change, and we will be looking to refresh a lot of the guidance over the next 6 months. So please sign up to the newsletter and get engaged with us as well on social media.
And Mike, you've got some advice as well from Sustren's side of things.
Yeah, so again, a couple of years ago now, but we developed the Leisure Cycling Tourism Guide for Businesses, which is an online resource. It's a really user-friendly ebook. It's full of case studies, some really good content. It links out to a number of videos and various other resources as well. And it's basically it's almost a toolkit, a business toolkit. It'll walk you through everything that you need to know about the leisure cycle tourism sector, from the sort of market dynamics, how much people are spending, how long they're staying for, right the way through to the small things that you can do as a business to make yourself more accessible to the audience and secure some of that market share.
Okay, well, we'll get those links and we'll make sure that they are associated with this video when it goes up on YouTube. So I guess getting back to our list, the next thing is clothing cleaning and drying service. So as you said, and that's something that they might be prepared to pay for. So to what extent do you need to provide that service? What does that really mean in practical terms?
Yeah, I mean, it can be to the level of putting in drying rooms and putting in washing machines and doing that. If you get a lot of outdoor users, not just cyclists and mountain bikers, but walkers, kayakers and other people, you might want to look at that. But that's quite an investment for businesses as well. The other thing you can look at doing is just being able to have IKEA bags where you can take that are people there, they can then drop it off at reception and then you can return it back to them the next day. I've had that at a couple of places in Scotland and it's great. You just feel that that's a tremendous service. When you come out, you're wet, you're muddy, you give it to reception. The next morning at breakfast you get new clean clothes to put on. That feels like you're being you feels a special level of service and you're willing to talk about that.
Yeah, fantastic.
I think Graeme makes a really good point there about the fact that whilst this is we're talking about this provision of a service for cyclists, the same service is very much valued by walkers, hikers, kayakers and so on. And so by adopting some of these principles within your business, you're potentially opening your business up to a whole new audience.
Yes, of those adventurous visitors who like to get out there and get dirty, excuse me. Okay, so the next one on our list is basic list of tools for cyclists to use. We sort of touched on that a little bit when we talked about the washing. So what about the tool side of things? What are we talking about here?
Again, you can go to the full extent and you can look at kind of getting bike repair stations. There's a few of them that are on the market now that you can buy, have installed for around about £1,000. That's going to the full thing, and that'll give you a kind of instant kind of level, an instant product that people will be able to use. Otherwise, just a set of Allen keys can be really useful. Set of Allen keys. A bike stand can be a useful thing. You can pick them up in Lidl and other places for relatively good value. So there's definitely different levels that
Sliding
you have
scale.
there.
Yeah,
Sliding
you don't
scale.
need to be an expert in bike maintenance to, if you go onto any of the sort of well-known cycling online stores, you can buy a basic bike maintenance kit which has got everything you need for 30, 40 quid maybe.
Yeah, and that kind of investment, again, will be repaid, won't it, really quite quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get through. We've still got quite a few things to get through here. We've got provision of food and drink at unusual hours. Now, how unusual are we talking?
Well, not outrageously unusual. I mean, again, most road cyclists who are on a multi-day journey, they want to be up and out the door by 8 o'clock latest. And so, offering breakfast at 8:30 really is a non-starter. They're looking to be sort of up, fed and watered and maybe 20 miles up the road by 8:30. And so, okay, you haven't necessarily got to lay on a full breakfast service for them, but, a lot of what people eat for breakfast is it's basically cereals, toast, whatever. And so it might be just a case of having the flexibility to leave some stuff out for people who want to depart early. Mm-hmm. And that can be, that simple thing can be the difference between someone choosing to stay with you and not.
And it's really quite an easy thing to be able to do.
Yeah.
Graeme, what about the other end, at the end of the day? Are there specific needs for mountain bikers that they need?
Yeah, particularly in the summer months. I mean, people are looking to stay out and enjoy the days for as long as they can. And with our daylight in the summer, people will look to enjoy as long as they can. So it can be great. And again, as Mike says, it doesn't need to be the full service you can offer, but the worst thing you can have is if you were to come in at 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night and not being able to eat anything within your location is a bit of a waste. It's worth discovering when people will be checking in or when they'll be back, and then looking at, okay, we can't offer you the full menu then, but we could do sandwiches and some chips or something basic, just something, yeah.
And again, that's something else that transfers over for other visitors. I know that was one of the things Richard and I did the North Coast 500 last year, and one of the things that was slightly frustrating was, you had a long day of driving, or sometimes people are cycling, or even on their motorbikes. You'll get in late somewhere and all the restaurants stop serving dinner at 8 o'clock. And, that seems like an opportunity there, not just for cyclists, but for other visitors too.
I think a key point here also is about signposting this. So, if there are reasons why you can't offer food after a certain time, then, let's have some frequently asked questions on your Facebook page or whatever and flag it up. The one thing that nobody wants is a nasty surprise. So if you can't provide something, just say so, and
so people can make other arrangements.
Exactly, they'll make other arrangements.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the other thing about that is maybe thinking about snacks and things for them to take on their journey too, and that's maybe an opportunity to make some more money too, because you could be selling them some things that they could stick in their backpacks and take along. Yes,
snacks can be really good. Kind of getting some cereal bars and other things in that people want to use, and also actually just some bike inner tubes, things like that. You can actually pick up probably really good value from your local bike shop, and then be able to just sell them on to guests as well. And again, it creates that feeling of specialness for the guest, which then if they can have that, they will help you sell your business for you.
Great. Okay, so the next one I think is probably quite important. Basic knowledge of the routes, trails and road riding in the area. Now that's something you're going to have to go out there and find out, isn't it? So that you can then be a source of information for these guests when they come to you.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to be an expert in it. It is basic knowledge of where to do, but it's just worth going around and checking out where people might go, where they might cycle, particularly for the ones that are arriving at your accommodation or at your facility, where the guests might be not that knowledgeable. So they've not planned the trip in advance, they're just looking for things to do. And there's a lot of great routes in Scotland that people can do, that people can access, that I don't need specialist knowledge in advance. And
Mike, can that be as simple as just arming yourself with the information, having it in your head, or does it help to maybe have some leaflets or have some, type something up with some pictures?
Well, I'd say there's sort of two sides to it. One is basically understanding what's on your doorstep. So you might actually be within a couple of miles of a national cycle network or the Land's End to John O'Groats route. And if you understand what's on your doorstep, then you can actually tailor your product offer to the kind of cyclist that you're likely to see coming past your front door. But then the other side of that is, well, if you have got a well-used and well-known route going past your front door, there might be a forum that's associated with banter around that route. So make sure you're posting images or posting information about your offer into the appropriate channel where these guys who are using that route will see it and kind of make that connection.
So it's a two-way street
It's a two-way
there.
street,
Yeah. Okay, the last couple, one is basic knowledge of local bike service providers, so guides, bike rental, bike shops, etc., and packages or agreements with these providers. So again, that's getting out there and just being aware of what's around about you. And the other one is an understanding of local public transport links suitable for use by cyclists. There's somebody watching saying, get your bike up to Oban, get up to Argyll. So it's things like that as well that are fairly simple to do, but will make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, we've got mountain biking. We have a regional coordinator in the Tweed Valley and one in Aberdeenshire now. They'll regularly run workshops for businesses, and there's other events across the year where people can go in and get engaged, find out what's happening in their local area and get the local connections so that they can either signpost or they can link up or provide packages together. It's really not about trying to do everything for this guest, because that can seem a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's trying to do your bit very well for this guest and then linking into other providers who also provide great experiences.
Mm-hmm. And collaboration is important, isn't it, Mike?
Yes,
with other
it is.
businesses?
Yeah. I mean, if you take a route, so a key route for us that we're focusing on at the moment is the Caledonia Way, which basically runs from Campbelltown on the Kintyre Peninsula right up through Oban, Fort William, and then up the Great Glen to Inverness. Now that's a long route that spans sort of two distinctly different geographical areas. But basically, people are looking to ride that route as an experience in its entirety. And so making sure that you're almost receiving the guests, giving them a good experience, and then pointing them on and passing them on to the next service provider. And so collaboration along a linear route like that is absolutely key.
And you're actually looking for businesses?
Yeah, we are.
Businesses?
So we've got a full-time network engagement officer now working along the Caledonia Way, a lady called Pat Douglas, and we're actually looking to kind of recruit businesses and service providers along that route to form almost steering group type clusters, and then we're looking to work with them, maybe 3 groups along the length of that route. And then we're looking to work closely with those businesses to firstly try and understand what resources those businesses might need to help them promote themselves to the route users, but also to help them promote the route on our behalf. And then also, if there's any training that there's a common need for, we can help facilitate that. And then that ties into another project which we're working on at the moment very closely with Visit Scotland, which is one of the key things for us is to make sure that we're pitching our products in the right way and to the right audiences. And so we're developing a microsite with Visit Scotland, which is specifically about promoting and presenting our product routes in the right way for the various audiences that we're trying to attract.
So how can tourism businesses get involved with that if they want to be part of that steering group?
Well, I think quite simply, they need to contact Pat Douglas, and we can make Pat's email address available a little bit later on. Make contact with Pat, give her the information, basic information around your business and what your business offer is, and we'll try and organise the businesses into groups with similar needs, and then we'll be talking to them and trying to understand what we can do to help them work with us to promote these routes.
Great, fantastic. Well, Richard, I'm aware that time is really running away. Have we got any questions coming in?
We have a few questions coming in. Audrey McLennan is with us and watching and is being very active in the chat room. Nice to have you with us, Audrey, suggesting maybe you haven't been watching the other 3. So just was going to say that Jane Stuart Smith was wondering if secure bike storage was needed outside like cafes and restaurants and that kind of thing, or would a bike rack simply do? Is it something that they need to up their game on? Also, there was just another question again from Jane Stuart, Stuart Smith, who runs a restaurant, and she says, it may sound like a stupid question, but the White House lunch starts at £25, sounds lovely, for a great locally sourced food, but it's protein rich, but not big plates of bulky carbs. Is that something that would be attractive to cyclists? Are they going to want to be doing more sort of carb loading? And Linda's question is that no one's mentioned whether or not it's worthwhile providing bikes for guests to use, or is that just too difficult from an insurance point of view? So anyway, that's it for now. Back to you, Julia.
Okay, well, Mike, we're going to lose you in a moment to swap you out. So let's just very quickly cover those 3 questions. 1, bike storage for the restaurants where they're going to be there for a shorter period of time. Does it need to be that as secure as the accommodation providers?
Possibly not, but it could be a really nice extra touch. If you have the ability to put a bike rack outside your restaurant or service, then that can be great. If people go in, if you were able to offer them a lock on there. Again, it's that extra mile service that could be really useful. So they can individually lock it up, bring the key, and then hand it back in afterwards.
Those little touches.
Little touch could
But
go a
at
long
the very
way.
least, put the bike rack right in front of the window so that the guys who or
Can
girls
watch them.
can watch their bikes.
Okay, that's great. What about the carb thing? Is that an issue?
Well, I'd probably say no, it's not. I mean, you know, there's a lot of particularly road cyclists are conscious of their weight, and high protein, low carb diets are kind of de rigueur in
So we're
certain
good for the
circles.
protein.
So, you know,
We're
it's
good
not,
for protein.
It's not an issue.
Okay, fantastic. And then the third one there was about offering actual bike hire. So whether it's worth doing that. What do you think, Graeme?
Possibly, yeah. If you're in one of a key destination, Tweed Valley, Fort William for mountain biking, big destinations, Cairngorm, Dumfries and Galloway, it could be worth looking at. But I wouldn't do it unless you have the skills in house to maintain the fleet of bikes. I wouldn't do it by yourself. But if you can link up with a local bike shop, that can be a great offer for both of you.
Okay, so that would be a good way of doing it, sort of with a lower risk and working with someone who knows what they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, Mike, we're gonna lose you. So before you go, can you give us your final top tip for tourism businesses?
Well, I've got two top tips. Okay, the first one would be, are you as good as you think you are? So find yourself a critical friend. We all know somebody who's a fanatical cyclist. So find yourself a critical friend and get them to come in and take a good long look at your business, a critical look at your business, and listen to what they've got to say, and make some small changes. You know, it's sometimes the success of a cafe, for example, can be you could have everything in place, but if the cafe next door's got slightly better coffee than you, then that's where people are going to go.
Okay, so
And
get
then-
someone to come
exactly,
in
and have a good
give
look
you
at
a
your
bit of
business and listen to what they've got to say.
Yeah.
And then the other tip would be, how visible are you? Are you as visible as you think you are? How visible are you to the audiences that you're trying to attract? And that can be as simple as getting online, picking a destination and searching for cycle-friendly accommodation or cafes or whatever it is, and see which businesses pop up, which businesses are sort of top of the list, and then critically look at those businesses and see what it is they're doing that's making them stand out. Why do they leap off the page? What is it they're doing, and can you adopt any of those principles? It might just be posting the right type of content into the right channels, forums and so on, but what's making those businesses stand out, and which of those things can you do yourself to make your business stand out?
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And also,
Pleasure.
you can go on to sustrans.org.uk/Scotland Guide and get some more information there. Now, as I mentioned earlier, last Friday we did go up to Abbeymoor to an event that caused Graeme to lose many nights of sleep for the Scottish Mountain Bike Conference. And here are some of the things that we learned.
So I'm Ewan Wilson from H&I Adventures. I run the company with my wife Catherine, and we are operating mountain bike and travel. So in 7 days to 14 days in length in 15 countries around the world.
I'm Leslie Beck and I'm the organiser of the Mountain Bike World Cup at Fort William.
My name is Scotty Loughlin. I'm a professional mountain biker. I travel the world doing what I love and ride some of the very best trails.
So what makes Scotland special? Well, that's quite close to my heart, and we try to take that around the world to all the destinations we work in, and that's the freedom. It's the wild, it's the wilderness, it's the rawness, and we try to bring that into every one of the tours we create, and that's why we've got adventures in our name. We're trying to create an adventure and an experience, and Scotland's just fantastic for that.
The best thing about mountain biking here in Scotland is I think that we've got the right to roam. We can go absolutely anywhere on a mountain bike as long as we respect the land, and it's just phenomenal. We have some incredible landscapes here which make it really fun to ride your bike through. The trails are good, there's a huge variation between sort of easy blues and greens to really technical blacks, and actually getting to ride through some of the mountain passes and be in the complete wilderness is absolutely amazing.
I think a really good example of a tourist attraction that we work closely with is in fact the venue for the Mountain Bike World Cup, which is Nevis Range. It's more of a partnership than anything else. They looked at who their customers were and were going to be, and what they might need and what they might want, and being able to deliver that really well.
So the best experience of a tourism business that we've worked with, well, I think that would be the Kinloch U Hotel in Torridon. New owners 2 years ago, and they came in arms wide open, asking, what can we do? How can we make this better? How can we have you here as our guests? So their drying room, they've got lunches on now, they're providing us bowls of chips when we come in cold at the end of a long day on the bike, and bike washing stations, etc. So they're just accommodating. They listen to what we need, what we would like. We can't always get what we want, but they'll listen to us, and they'll try and mould the best they can to help us.
My main message for any businesses that are wanting to welcome mountain bikers here in Scotland is to just embrace them. They're going to be muddy, they're going to be dirty, you've had a great day out in the mountains, and you're going to have facilities for them. Things like a safe, secure bike room, somewhere where they can actually wash bikes, and then of course they're going to want something warm and hot to drink, or maybe even a beer to celebrate a great ride. And you've just got to sort of realise that they might be a little bit muddy and dirty, but you've got to welcome them with open arms, and they'll promote you just as much as they can help you.
Mountain bikers are not difficult people. We're actually quite simple. We enjoy going out, we enjoy getting our exercise during the day, but we like a hot meal at night, we like good beer and whiskey, we like a hot shower, and somewhere secure and safe to put our bikes after we've washed them at the end of a long day. Quite simple, but it really makes for an amazing day in the hills, and I think it's not a difficult thing for the accommodation providers or cafes to get behind.
I think it's a fundamental. Imagine what your customer wants and take an extra step to try and deliver it, because it makes customers feel really special and really wanted, and they go away and share that message with other people who then want to come to Scotland too.
Some fantastic shots there from Scotty Loughlin, filmed up in Skye, I believed. Looked just incredible, didn't it? Okay, so now we've swapped out Mike for another Graeme. Hope that's not too confusing. Graeme Adcock from the Cleacombe Mill Lodge, and Graeme won the Mountain Bike Award for the Bike Friendly Business 2017. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So we need to find out how you did it, but first of all, tell us how you came to have the lodge.
Well, basically, I run the lodge as a self-catering accommodation. But my background is cycling. My wife and I have travelled all over Europe basically, and over the world with our bikes. So I'm in the lucky position of opening a self-catering accommodation, but looking at it from a cycling perspective and what guests want when they arrive at a destination.
So it's little wonder then you won the award, because you already had the right mindset. You didn't need to put yourself into the shoes of the guest, because you already were that guest essentially.
Yes, I set high standards. I'm not from the trade. I was an engineer in the construction industry in my background, but if I do a job, I'd like to do it properly, and I took that ethos into my new challenge really.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about what some of the things are that you did to provide for these visitors then.
Well, basically, I think most importantly is to welcome the guests, and the first thing you do is ask, do you want to bring the bike in? Put the bike safe. That's the first thing I ask, because even on the backs of cars, bikes are vulnerable to being stolen. So rather than showing them in and leave the bikes outside where they're vulnerable, I get the bike safe, the guests can relax, and then take it from there and show them around. So that's one of the first things. I send out an information pack, which has been discussed before, so they know what to expect when they arrive. I try and greet all guests where possible, let them know if there's any issues. If I think they're cycling from a destination, it might be getting dark, which they may not have considered. Mm-hmm. And just offer them practical accommodation. They're not frightened to walk in. I have wooden floors in the ground floor, so they can not be frightened when they come in.
No cream carpets.
No cream carpets and mm-hmm. white sofas, so they feel relaxed straight away. And I am a cyclist, but I can talk to them about their journey when they've arrived, and that gives you a good starting point, basically.
Yeah, it's so important, those first impressions, isn't it, Graeme? So what about that storage for the bikes? Do you provide indoor, do you provide a covered space for them?
Yes, my storage is inside the building. It's got chains locked to the walls, but the guests know before they arrive that they bring their own locks to secure their bikes to the chains. And it's also very handy that the bike store is an area they can come and tinker with their bikes. It's not out in the garage, it's not cold. They can come in, make a cup of coffee, and then tinker with their bikes inside the bike store after they wash them, obviously, if they want to.
Yeah.
But it's makes them feel good, and the bike store's got maps on the wall and gives them destinations. And if you speak to them when they arrive, find out what their abilities are, what they want from their trip, you can advise on either bike trips, visiting local attractions, and it just goes on from there. And some mountain bike trails are quite technical, so you want to recommend something that they're going to enjoy and not scare themselves, so they get the most out of the holiday in the quickest time.
So you really thought about their journey all the way through your business, and I guess that means that word of mouth advertising is going to work really well for you.
Well, word of mouth is probably one of the biggest things, and also being part of a community of small businesses. If you volunteer with local events, even
Which you do, marshalling?
Marshalling, or help them set up events, or however small. There's always a community, but it, as also been mentioned, the word of mouth is one of the biggest things that people do, and people pass on the word. And I don't advertise now. Most of my weekends sell out from word of mouth. And if you get it right first time, people will come back again and again. And I've had guests this year come back 4 times with their families, and it's obviously they just love it. So I must be doing it right, and it's there for people to do as well. So
yeah. So what advice then would you give to other tourism businesses on how they can have similar success to you?
I think as a starting point is to get involved with the local shops, bike shops. Maybe other providers. If you're full, send guests to other providers who you know are bike friendly and not necessarily not bike friendly. Things like that.
Now we talked about the secure bike storage. I think Graeme, you said that was something really it couldn't really emphasise enough, and it came up as well in the film. What more do you have to say about that for tourism businesses watching?
Yeah, it's just such an important part of getting it right. I mean, and it's one that, to be honest, we go around the country. Graeme does it very, very well with having just changed there, but the ability for people to go in and put their bikes on, and people bring their own lock along. That's a tremendous example of what we can do. We go around the country as well, and to be honest, we stay at a lot of different places. It's just not a service that enough accommodation providers are putting in place for guests. As Mike said earlier on, bikes are ranging now from £1,000 even up to £10,000 for individual bikes.
Crazy.
It seems like a lot of money, but if you compare it to buying a golf membership and how many years you get enjoyment out of it, it is of equivalent in some ways. So it doesn't, for your hobby, it is a hobby
Huge
where
investment.
people. It's a huge investment, but it's something you want to do, and it's also something you're going to take care of, and it's quite precious to you. So actually, people investing in the bike accommodation can make a massive difference. Secure bike storage can make a massive difference for that guest. And we're actually working with Scottish Enterprise at the moment. And we're going to be offering a new scheme in January where people have the opportunity to apply in and to look to get a grant to then put bike storage into their accommodation.
That's great. Where can people find out more about that?
If they go away from here just now, if they can sign up to our Developer Mark Week in Scotland newsletter, we'll be launching the scheme in January.
Okay, that's great. Well, I'm aware that we are pretty much running out of time. Richard, any final comments or advice from the chat box?
We've had lots of nice comments in the chat box. I just wanted to really just say thanks to everyone for getting involved, and it has been very useful, your comments and everything, and good luck to Linda, who's going to be trying to get some HIE funding for some stuff that she wants to do with her bike. But just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who's been getting involved, and I'm sure Julia's going to tell you before we go of all the places that you can watch and listen and all the things that we've done over the last few weeks. But I wanted to just say, don't forget, from next week, we will be making everything that we've done available as an audio podcast. So I just wanted to remind everybody of that. But Julia, back to you.
Thank you very much, Richard, and thank you very much to all our guests today. So much great information there. Graeme McLean from, and I want to say, Developing Mountain Biking in Scotland. I want to say DMBinS, but it's not right. And to Mike Dennison, who we had on earlier from Sustra in Scotland, and to Graeme Adcock from the Clickenmill Lodge. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us and sharing your insight and experience. This session will be available in full on the High YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/HIE Communications. And if you go on there, you'll also find all our previous sessions. So we've had food and drink, cruise tourism, search engine optimization. What a broad range of things we've covered in this little mini series. This is the last one in this current series, but there's loads of other films up on there if you want to look back at previous sessions. There's some shorter versions, some highlights, and as from next week, we'll also have some audio versions, some audio podcast versions of these interactive sessions, so you can listen to them whilst you're doing other things. Richard suggests perhaps when you're at the gym, if you're out on your bike, perhaps on a cycle, you could listen to that in your ears, or perhaps when you're doing other stuff around your business. So yeah, please do follow us on Facebook at Highlands and Islands Enterprise. We do Facebook live sessions on there, and the important thing is for the next batch of these tutorials, we want to know what you want to know about. So please do get in touch with us and let us know if there's a particular topic you would like us to cover. I know search engine optimization was one that we probably could do more on, so let us know if you would like that. But for now, thank you so much for taking part. It really is all about you. I hope you can go back and find some more information on that YouTube channel or for sessions that you've missed. But keep the conversation going. For now, I've been Julia Sutherland. Goodbye.